Welcome to FMA Talk. I'm your host, Datu Tim, joined with me by my wonderful co-host as usual.
PG guys here. Everyone, welcome everyone.
And we have our special guest for today's show, PG Craig Mason.
How's it going, everyone?
Otherwise known as Nickel Dog.
That's right. This guy.
The first modern Arnis black belt that I know of that is a full-fledged dog brother. And Mr. Wolf says hello. So we had a little technical difficulty on my end. I listened to some people who gave me some technical advice, and it messed some things up, so it threw me off a little. Also remodeled the studio a little. Here we go. I got some stuff going on there.
Oh, there you go.
I went with the red to go with the red and stuff like that. So, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things. Monopoly guy twins, LOL. Okay. All right. I think he's trying to say you two guys got the same haircut.
I think so. Glasses and everything.
Yeah. Haven't caught up to you yet, Ty.
Okay. It's a choice. Ty has hair. He just chooses not to. So we got a bunch of things. I was over at the gathering, Bruce Jutnick's gathering out in Sacramento. Moved back to Sacramento, so that was really cool. Had a blast. And then the Bahalana multi-style guys actually gave me a challenge coin which is in my luggage, and I haven't unpacked yet. So we will go into that. Let me see here. Justin says hello. Hey, Justin.
Hey, Justin.
Hey.
Tim Dobson says hello. Thanks, Tim, for telling us who you are, because for some reason it just doesn't like telling us who you are.
Yeah.
I'm going to do I have some modifications I need to do with my computer, because I listened to some people about settings and it's just not working for me. So I'm going to do a couple of things. All right. Did that change it at all? How did my image look? Does that change the image at all? Not much. Okay. I'm going to do this.
You're a little bluey right now. Your light shut. Your face is kind of faded out.
Washed
out.
Yeah, I'm trying to adjust the brightness on the monitor, and it's just not working. I don't know where you know what? I got to do this. Okay, I have two monitor controls, and it's not helping because it's only controlling the one monitor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's terrible. So I'm at the monitor that has the option to go like the black background. That one I can go higher or lower. This one in front of me, I can't adjust the brightness on whatsoever. At least not through the settings. I probably have to do that physically, and I don't know where my controls on my monitor are physically, and I really don't care at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do this. Okay. So there's a lot of things to talk about. Today's topic is about sparring and how the WMA became the sparring clan of the modern East world. Here we go. I'll let you do some of the reading on some of this because I'm trying to find the setting issues.
Our friend wrote it like M wrote, and you thought I was gone and came back stronger and with vengeance. Yeah, I need to get some shots for that or something.
Yeah, I don't think
Is there a cream for that?
There's a cream for that. There you go.
There'd be a cream for that. So what I wanted to do is last week's show we talked about the World Modern Arnis Alliance and all this other stuff, how it started and the challenges. There was one topic that came up sort of, and we glossed over it a little. I wanted to just go over it. We talked about the World Modern Arnis Alliance and all this other stuff, how it started and the challenges. Now I got a background from one of you guys.
Nope, it's good now.
Okay. So basically, we talked about one of the reasons why I started this up, because I looked around in like 99, 98, and I was the only one doing it as a standalone art. Everyone was doing the art within your art. And so which means they had an art to go back to. So if something happened to Professor, they were all fine, but I would be on my own, maybe. So then this But the organization continued forward. And I just want to talk about, we didn't specifically deal with this, but I'm going to talk about it real quick. So the comment was, because someone asked me about it afterwards. I'm like, listen, I tried to move forward. I tried to work with everybody. I always did. But at the time I was the senior student. Well, actually, I'm still the senior student. Think about it. I was running all the forums. I was starting all the camp sessions up. I was doing the introduction of Remy when you come in the room. I was the Can-Am director of the IMAF. Then, and I'm going to talk about my opinion, so take it for what it's worth. But Craig actually knows a little about this, and I'm going to bring up a thing to verify some of the stuff. So basically, there was a group, 7 people who got the Masters of Tappy Tappy title, and they said that it superseded everything. They were promoted to 5th degree black belt, and then the title superseded everything. But once again, the logic thing makes no sense, because if you needed the belt to be a 5th degree to have the title, then obviously numerical rank is part of the equation, and 6 is more than 5, but whatever. But when I resigned, it's because there was 7 people saying things other than myself. And if you followed will, which never was executed, Remy wanted people to be part of that, myself included. When we started talking about stuff, it was very obvious that who wanted to be in charge. People who were black belts for less than 5 or 6 years saying that they knew more about the art than all the others. And for all intents and purposes, erased the belt promotions above 5th degree black belt, the degrees they were. And they hadn't promoted anyone beyond that point until they got an acknowledgement diploma and perceived that as a promotion. And case in point, and I'm going to talk about a story, like there's a cancel culture program going on right now where people have tried to erase me from modern Arnis history. And lately it's gotten stronger. But in the past, it was, Ty had heard some of this. I was the blade guy. Other people said I was the forms guy. Well, Craig had I'll tell the quick portion of this, and then Craig can fill in the blanks. So Craig is in Northern Ontario, which is 4 hours north of Toronto, where he's at. And there was a particular student from a modern Arnis group in Southern Ontario, the Toronto group, would go up to his area, and he started for work and started training with Craig. And loved the material, thought we were very organized, and our delivery system, specifically our polys, where they kind of just like did it all willy-nilly, where we were like, no, these are your ABCs, this is how you go, blah, blah, blah. Then my name came up. Craig, tell them what happened when my name came, or what the comment was about when my name came up.
Well, it's actually when we're talking about lineages, and when your name came up, gentleman had mentioned that he thought you were a Comaton guy and you weren't a modern Arnis guy.
So my name came up. Oh, Tim Hartman, that Comaton guy. Now he studied with a quasi first gen or a gen and a half student of Remy who knew me, a guy who used to live in the States and moved up to Canada. So if you look on the internet, you'll see my name attached to Comaton. You'll also see my name attached to Balintawak, Kuntao, and Sikaran. But when you look up my name, you're going to find out that it's modern Arnis. When it comes to things martial art wise, there's not many people when it comes to Remy's system. Not many people. There's no first generation students that have put more time and effort into promoting the art and promoting also getting the name out on the internet. When you look up modern Arnis, or you look at myself, you're going to see all this stuff about Tim and modern Arnis. You're not going to see Comaton will show up, but I'll be the first to admit that Comaton is not my primary system. I do PFS, not Progressive Fighting Systems from Paul Vunak, but Prace's family systems. Now, the time after he showed up, what he obviously had been corrected by someone down south. Well, actually, you corrected him, and then when he came back, what did he say about it?
Yeah, he had mentioned, he clarified, that you were a high ranking in modern Arnis.
Yeah. So
obviously some misinformation somewhere.
this stuff was happening while Remy was alive. I mean, before Remy was diagnosed, that people would put me in different categories. I couldn't work with them. And here's my thing. I love the modern Arnis community. Okay. Unfortunately, some of my brothers and sisters, I just cannot work with. And that's the frustration, because they are family. You always love your family, but you don't always like your family. And I've pretty much given up on the rest of the juvenile nonsense that's out there. I know people don't always like what I say and they cry foul, but they don't care about how what they say affects other people's feelings. Now, you hear something, it gets you upset. That's a genuine feeling, but you should get down to the point and find out. I was just talking to someone recently, and I was talking about an instructor. Actually, I had a conversation with him, and so he made a comment at an event. He goes, how many Filipino FMA instructors are here? Just you. And the point was like, look, there's not that many people in this region. And it was different. It was just an observation, not judgmental, just saying, like, because it was an East Coast thing, and most of the instructors here are non-Filipinos. Now, personally, I like that fact, because we're not trading on our race. We are being known based on our ability and knowledge. But so I've pretty much given up with the rest of the quote unquote, or the rest of the influencers of the modern Arnis world. There's a couple I'm willing to work with, but for the most part, with this adolescent nonsense, I've given up on that. So I just wanted to make that comment and once again talk about how the stuff that contributed to me starting the World Modern Arnis Alliance. We didn't really go down that path. We touched on it a few times, but that was it. So let's get caught up here, and then we'll talk about stuff. So I don't know. Let me see. Because I can't read half this stuff.
Matt Jones, I respectfully request that Datu Tim Hartman ask Grandmaster Dominic to implant a master level modern Arnis instructor in his dojo here in Avon, Connecticut, if that is possible.
I wish I had one to give him out.
Right.
That would be me. Okay, dude. Okay, here we go. What we got there? All the characters are not showing up very well for me.
Okay. Yeah, Noah. I'm not sure who that is. Noah, good morning, maestros from Cebu, Philippines. God bless Arnis and Philippines martial arts. Magandang umaga, sir. Thank you.
Let's see here.
Dude. Sweet.
Yeah, okay. So what do we got here from Justin?
How many modern Arnis schools are there in Southern Ontario?
Craig?
Well, right now, London is your mecca right now.
Well, okay. So if you talk there, there
are modern. Are we talking just modern Arnis schools?
If you're talking about, there are no schools of modern Arnis in Toronto.
No.
Okay. There are. Yes. Okay. We'll address that right there. I can address that one easy.
Yeah.
There are no such things as modern Arnis schools outside of our organization that I know of. Oh, wait a minute. There is. What's his name up in BC has a school.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of modern Arnis programs, but I would say in the GTA, Greater Toronto Area, there's only one club, and I think that's Brian Johns.
Yes.
I think he teaches 1 day a week out of a rec center, maybe 2 days a week. Club, handful of students. London, Ontario. Well, we have Carl Altram, who's teaching a modern Kempo hybrid right now.
Yeah.
Modern Arnis. I want to say modern. Modern Arnis / Kempo program in Cambridge. There are a couple guys like London's got Tim Dobson, Brad Fowler, and
Tim
McMillan working together.
Yeah.
It's mostly Brad and Tim, and then Jason comes in and does that. We've got in Wallaceburg, you've got Claudine. So they're putting modern Arnis. The modern Arnis is in their Kempo program. Like I said, Brian Johns is in Oshawa or near Oshawa.
Yeah.
Terrence used to, but I think
Yes.
Terrence stopped after COVID. I don't know if he's planning on doing stuff. I don't know. I haven't heard from Terrence since prior to COVID, so I can't. And then Classic Martial Arts has a program 1 day a week, I think, maybe 2 days a week.
And then there's she's in Ottawa area.
Okay.
Rob Peaker, one of the gentlemen I do stuff with the Dog Brothers. He's training with her right now, and she was under Gabrielle.
But we also have one in North Bay.
Yep, Chris
so
Martin.
one of ours. That's
Tsunami. Tsunami Studios.
Yeah, and then we also have Deep River. We have, is it Deep River?
Yeah, Deep River. Hiltz Hapkido. He's got a full
and then
program.
You're up in Sudbury.
Yeah.
So of course that's all of Ontario.
Yeah.
We are working on, and then London, Ontario used to have like 5-6 schools that were half Kempo, half with Olympic karate. That was half Kempo and half Arnis, half modern Arnis. So Noah's got something here.
Jim Remy was one of a kind, very skilled as fighter and as teacher and as humble man. His skill was beyond other players.
Yes, he was. And the thing here, once again, why we like training with Remy, he actually fought it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking put on gear and dance around. I'm talking real fights where there were real life consequences. And Sean Bacon was in matches. He killed 2 people, and that's not a bragging, and both times he did time. So it wasn't, everyone says, oh, I killed a guy in a death match, and then, no, there have been repercussions of that. And that's actually how Tabamina got hooked up with him, because the second time he was in prison for a long time, and Tabamina was part of that. Or I think he worked as either a cop or a prison guard, or I don't know if they have this, if they do that separately. Corrections here. Here we go. Boom. Pure modernity schools.
He was looking for pure modernity schools. If not schools, then groups. Pure.
That would be nothing in Southern Ontario. So modern Arnis is okay. So how am I going to say this? Well, when we talked about the show, The Art Within Your Art versus Modern Arnis as a standalone program. When you learn the art within your art, how would you say learning the art within your? You said it the other day, Ty, during the show. I don't want to take your words about the.
I don't remember. I can't remember what I say.
You said that you only learn part of the art. You would choose to only do parts of the art.
You could, yeah. Well, you're probably not. Well, even if you work on everything you've ever learned and everything that you could consume, whatever, you're not deconstructing and digesting the parts that you already know. In other words, like how to punch, how to stand, how to move, and so there's a flavor. At the very best case, it's still kind of different. But that's my take. But pure, yeah. I mean, it depends on what you mean by pure. That's a charged word these days.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. I'm hitting buttons here. I'm going to see if it fixes.
Maybe he's referencing the core of what they teach.
Yeah, I mean, if that's your main part of your program and that's what you're doing, even still, right? Yeah, I think in Southern Ontario there is not that. I think, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know McMillan and Fowler and those guys. They're trying to do a program.
Yeah, they're working on a program and they've got their blend, but they're teaching a core amount of the braces and what they do.
The problem
they use that as the foundation. Yeah.
Here's the problem. Remy was really good at making people better martial artists, and he did it by infusing Filipino martial arts in what they were doing. Unfortunately, he didn't make it a requirement for people to do a deep dive in FMA. He did it as the art within the art. So part of their rank is their primary system. So like going to university, what do? You switch you switch degrees, and next thing you know, a lot of the credits can be reapplied elsewhere. But they didn't, and I'll say it. I actually don't care about saying it pure. They didn't do it pure. They cross-trained it, and they got a competency level certification versus a curriculum level certification, and there's a difference, when, I mean, hell, I could fake my way through a jiu-jitsu test with all the small circle that's built in modern. If my partner went first, as long as it wasn't serious throws, I could handle it. But there's not many. And then there's nothing in the GTA area. Sorry, by my standard. But then again, that's my standard, and some people might disagree with that, and that's okay. Well, okay, what we got here? Why are I'm still having these problems with my?
There we go. Now, Eric, greetings from Portland. Nice. Hey, good evening, Eric. And Hilt, good evening.
It's true.
And Bill Anderson, just like eating a buffet, a lot of school and instructors that have come across teach what they want to pass on, but not the full program. That's a great way of saying it. Yep.
And that is all of Filipino martial arts I see.
Yep.
When I was talking to a good friend of mine out in Mr. Ruby, out from Sacramento, did a class at his place. And he's got a Dos de Paris and a Yao Yan gym. And unfortunately, he made a point of saying when I was teaching in his place, he's like, Hartman can actually throw leather. I'm like, he's seen videos of Craig and I doing stuff, or me with my kids. And he goes, most FMA guys can't punch to save their lives. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but when you look at a lot of systems, there's a lot of systems that don't teach open hand combatives. And that's been... And whether they had it or not, a lot of times, so I don't know. I'm going to say right off that. I do know. Blintuak doesn't have it. Bobby Tabuada has put some open hand combatives in as a drill, but it's not part of his requirement. And I don't know of any of his people that just do Blintuak. They have, like Remy, I think there's a lot of Filipino systems that are a complete system in their field of study, but not necessarily a standalone system that if someone wanted like a little of everything, they could do it. I mean, listen, these days, if you're going to learn how to defend yourself, the armed solution is not the way to go. I see everyone pretty much cosplaying John Wick out there. And then they put it on social media, which means those are the guys that are going to go to jail and lose the biggest lawsuits because they don't show a nonviolent threat resolution situation. They're showing how to do covert. I'll pull my shirt up, pull the knife out, and stab somebody. Y'all know who you are, And I've done it a couple. When that became a thing, I did it to try it out to see what it was like. You don't see me doing any social media stuff on that. There's a lot of things that you don't see me doing social media stuff on, and the more you put out there, the more you need to be careful, because sooner or later, if that day happens, it's a life-altering situation. And when they do research, they look at social media these days. People have lost scholarships because of social media stuff. You really think in a lawsuit, when they're looking to either sue your ass, put your ass in jail, or both, that they don't do the research? Okay, So, but okay, there we go. That's mine. I say we said the buffet, but yeah, a lot of people, but a lot of guys in FMA don't know how to use their hands. And I saw an attempt this weekend from some people. And I'll give them props for their trying, but their execution was not where it needed to be. Should have done it. Well, the connection between the weapon and the hand was too much of a disconnect.
We're talking the weapons aspect, not something like Yao Yan. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. There are open hand systems like Kuntao, Sikaran, Yao Yan. Yeah. But a lot of the guys that do any kind of weapon stuff don't have the open hand combatives like Sarada, Bahalana. Okay. stuff of that nature. Hey, Kurt, how you doing?
Covert.
Guilty. Covert. Yep, there you go.
Nice.
All right, here we go. We got our friend saying hello.
Hey, Rich.
Master Rich, how you doing?
And then here's the I'm having problems on
Bill
mine.
Henderson. That is why I'm like a mushroom and only teach a few people who have the same mindset or their requirements are specialized for their specific job. That is definitely easier.
Yeah.
And
Oh, here we
then
go.
Facebook user and karate, jiu-jitsu guys don't know crap about weapons, so it equals out. It depends. It depends.
I wouldn't always. I would say you don't know what you're talking about. I would say there's people out there that don't know who they're talking about, but
Right.
there's a lot of skilled people in those other arts that have weapons. Matter of fact, jiu-jitsu, it is not a lot. Okay, first of all, here's my rant. When you talk about jiu-jitsu, talk about jiu-jitsu, not BJJ, because that is the ground element of judo.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu as a stand-up art has freaking everything. They punch, they kick, they lock, they throw, they do weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, all this shit comes from the samurai. Everything was a modern fighting art at one time.
Right. And there's a lot of traditional karate styles that still keep the kabuto going.
Mhm.
That's where all the weapons are.
Well, the karate jitsu aspect. Yeah.
Right. All the
Oh,
Renee.
6 eyes. Look at that.
6 eyes.
It'd be 12 of us, right?
Yeah.
So, and I will say there is a paradigm that a lot of times, well, actually, in a lot of these schools now, they're teaching weapon aspects that they didn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it may be an enrichment program, so they'll have a sword program, a staff program. I will say this, though. Not many of those schools actually teach the use. It's mostly kata driven.
Yeah.
But, but I'm not sure who Facebook user is, so whatever. Okay.
and it like anything, it depends, right?
Oh, here we go. Lots of full dogs at judo and
BJJ guys. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Datu, actually, 100%. Okay. All right. So let's get into today's topic. So today's topic is about how we became the fighting clan of modern Arnis. But before we do that, let's talk about fighting. Let's make sure we're on the same page. But I'm gonna step out. I'll be listening to you. I just gotta take care of something with the boss.
Okay.
I'm listening.
You're listening.
Fighting. I like that. Fighting is a loaded term as well, right?
Yes.
Well, some people will say combat, right?
I guess it depends on what aspect you're kind of looking at, right? You've got your combat end, you got your sports end, you got your in between. It's all about that
Well,
random setting.
Well, even in non-sports, right?
Yep.
If you're talking about a fair fight, to my mind, that's not combat.
Yeah.
Right? If you're doing a fair fight, now it's a match. I don't care how deadly you think it is. You've agreed to do a match.
Yeah.
But that's me. I have a lot of opinions about what's fighting and combat and sparring and all of those things. And I think we get really lazy and imprecise about assumptive use of words, right? When people say, hey, fighting can mean a lot of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're fighting for air, right? Are you fighting as a competition? Are you fighting for your life? Even if you're fighting for your life, what is the situation? But yeah, anyway, so fighting. Let's go into that some more. So before I dive in, I want to hear from you because you've done a lot of different challenging situations for testing your material and applying your material and learning from your material. So what do you want to say about fighting before I rant and rave?
Well, it's I guess the distinction, you already talked about the fighting, sparring, and then you've got drilling. So obviously drills is a preset. Even if you start randomizing drills, right? It's still drilling. But when you get into fighting and sparring, that you get into that random setting, and there's a big difference, in my opinion, between fighting and sparring, and that's in terms of intensity. You can have hard sparring, but it's still sparring, right?
Well, and also again, rules, right?
Yeah, rules, exactly.
Well, let's talk about then sparring. So
Freak.
sparring can span a bazillion things, right?
Yeah.
Somebody asked a question on social media recently about essentially what would be some people could describe as shadow sparring, and I don't have a problem with that as long as you know what you're doing that drill for. To me, anything that's sparring is another drill. It's just a less compliant drill, right? You've got different rules, you got different agreements, and there's certain things that are allowed and aren't, just like a drill.
Agreed.
So that's my mind for sparring. But once you get into something that's more like a fight or combat related, there is a bigger can of worms that can be opened, right? That's how I look at it. But yeah, so I've seen everything from sparring from, hey, you're gonna spar and you're gonna use moves from, say, this particular branch of material. You're gonna go super slow, or you're gonna go no contact, or you're gonna go, limited targets, right? All of these kinds of things, which are helpful for training tools and exploration, and lots of good stuff there. Don't get me wrong, but they all have different implications, different limitations, and different benefits. And in my mind, you have to get the best out of everything. You've got to do a little of everything, right? So you've got this material that you're trying to explore. You need to look at it from all the different ways with all the different types of sparring or drills or thought and all that good stuff. And sparring and fighting and challenging the timing and the distance and the application of things in lots of different ways gives you, a big portion of that picture.
Sure.
He came back. So anyway, yeah. Did anything made you want to spark some more, Craig?
No, I agree. And I know a lot of times, like, just from some of the comments, you're in terms of when you hear the word fighting, you're looking at that more combative aspect without any of those rules. Obviously, is when you get into that aspect, that's when somebody's really going to get busted up. Where even the events, like if you look at a gathering, that's the next level above sparring. And yes, you got gear, but you're talking about minimal gear. You got a helmet, and maybe some gloves. So then you're pushing that envelope there because of but it's also an agreement as well. You're not there to basically put somebody in the hospital. So it's not to that level. And that's a lot of times it seems, when you were talking about that combat aspect of fighting.
Got some comments already. Lots of people have ideas.
So, Brock's all upset that you're both wearing the same shirt. Listen, here's what I want to say. When we talk about this, I use fighting as a generic term.
Yep.
I meant sparring.
Yep.
We're not really talking about really fighting because we're not.
Exactly. No, exactly.
And let me tell you this. No one knife fights. I'm going to call bullshit on all of it.
Yep.
Take a padded knife or inert hunk of metal and let's use we got a full dog brother on the show. We got one listening to me. The knife fights that happen at the dog brother gatherings are ridiculous. Because you will stab someone in the face and then someone comes up and kicks you in the head and they say, "Oh, I kicked you in the head." I'm like, yeah, but you just got stabbed in the face. That stab, your kick in the head would have never happened because you're wearing safety gear. But that's just a little
No, they were trying to simulate he was on PCP. It's okay.
There we go. That was it. But I want to. My thing was when we say fighting, we're really talking about sparring.
Right.
And going out and doing it now. And what I'm going to say is, I was told by one person, "Oh, Remy didn't like sparring." I'm like, no, it's in the books. Remy has the tournament rules.
Yep.
But the thing here is, I was talking to Randy Shad, and I was going to do a tournament. Remy's response, "Oh, Remy didn't like tournaments. Are you calling me?" And that I should have. And I was just like, I was trying to be the nice guy because people assume I'm the bad guy. I'm actually quite a nice guy, and I went the path of least resistance. And the guy, he was like, "Well, what I should have sat there and said, are you calling me a liar? Let's go talk to Remy right now." But I was trying to be nice. But the thing here is, Remy wouldn't have had the rules in the book if he didn't do tournaments. Come on, really? And wait a minute, if you're an expert on the art, which obviously you wasn't, you would have read the goddamn books. I mean, you're the doctor, you're the this, that, and the other thing. You were the guy that ripped everyone off for money. Oh, I'm sorry, that was hearsay. So, but of course we don't know where he is anymore. But the thing here is, okay, I don't think Remy pushed it with his American students because they did the art within the art. So they were part-time stick jocks. Actually, they weren't even a stick jock. They learned the defensive tactics of the art.
Mhm.
They learned the maneuvers to defend themselves. Whether they put their time in or not to actually get proficient or not is another story. And I'm not calling them on that. I'm making an observation, and people have to understand that Remy didn't teach people how to fight in the States. He taught them self-defense.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of people misperceive drills for fighting.
Right. Oh yeah, we can go there.
And we're going to go there. And Renee, I was listening the whole time. It's just that I had to, and of course I pulled this up while you guys were talking. He's not listening. Of course he's listening.
Right.
But I really don't think you guys want to hear any of my bodily functions when I'm taking care of business, or my dog barking, and the fact that I haven't eaten, so I did get something to eat. It'd be weird for me to eat, y'all, because Janice has some phenomenal hamburgers with like a pasta sauce on there, and I couldn't share with you guys, and I didn't want to do that to y'all.
No, but I like what you said about Remy's with the teaching people some exposure for self-defense, but also what he really did is he enabled you to take your own path, right? He gave you a lot of concepts and material to work on, and you could do it as a hobby. You could do it just for exposure. You could dive in deep. It's up to you, and he was fine with that. But I think some people fool themselves of where they fall on that spectrum.
You can't be honest with others if you're not honest with yourself. You know, and let's go back just a wee bit. Remember when we talk about fighting?
Yeah.
We really mean sparring.
Sparring. Yeah, exactly. That's what. Yeah.
So
you mean like copy?
Yeah. So yeah. Well, tappy. Yeah. So I would say that. I don't know. Modern Arnis people as a whole, the norm, not the exception. And this is, remember, when we talk, everybody, there's the norm and the exception. And if I make I did this once, I don't give a damn what you've done once out of 1,000 times. What I care about is what is the probable.
Right.
You know, when I tell people, hey, you know, like, what's your I did this once in a sparring match. Okay, I did the hand switch behind my back and all this other stuff. Okay, actually, I see the WeCap people do that all the time. They take the stick, they wrap around, they hit the person. That's great. Can you do it without armor? You know, and I'm not making fun of them. I'm using that as an isolated situation. I've done stuff that I have, you know, like especially if I'm doing the sport, I make the rules work for me, and the rules aren't about living and dying in the street. It's about winning the match. So we got to put things in the proper context. I mean, point fighting champions have amazing skill sets, but they're not fighting in a boxing ring.
Exactly. Well, and the rules do make a huge difference. Look, when we went to Finland.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely, I was out of my comfort level with, and it was basically
the guy that would pick up a tree and beat a tire with it. I mean,
exactly. But it was basically whoever hit the other person the most, right? So if I hit you twice and you hit me 3 times, guess what? First 2 points nullify each other. You're one up. So there was a lot of striking. We broke a lot of sticks, myself and Maxim. Like, I think we broke 3 sticks in that friggin' match, but we hit each other a lot.
It also affects your unrelated tactics, right? So you got to make sure that the judges can see stuff, and that will affect your targeting.
And I have fought Bak-Bakken tournaments. So and to me, that's a huge badge of honor. And I've actually won. Cool. Okay. And I brought my students there. Ray Galan was there. I think Topher Ricketts was there at the time, you know, and like there's a big FMA community in Jersey. And I actually got a few shots off that were like bang out of nowhere. And after I hit the shot and I have all the masters watching me at the time, like, I'm done. I kept fighting. But it was like when I did this one where all I did was a backhand and no one saw this. The only thing you could see move was the guy's helmet. And like after I did that, I did it to him twice.
Yeah.
Just to prove I could do it. You know, that wasn't a luck shot. And the guys I looked at the judges, they scored, they gave me all right, that's it. I didn't have to fight anymore because they saw I proved what I could do, you know. Right. But it was still just sparring. But
sometimes you'll still do the things that the judges can't see if it serves a purpose in intimidating your opponent.
So I was this woman we were doing a spotty dog, and she's like, you really need to, if you just come up a little more, it would be, the judge. I see what you're doing, you're getting your points, but none of the judges are seeing it. And they're like, you know what? I don't care if I win or lose. I'm doing my techniques.
Right. And
he knows I got him.
Yeah.
And the guy beat me, and I ended up getting like the silver that match or whatever, with that division. I didn't care because some of the times I'm just trying new shit out because I was there for the tournament, not for me. It was for my students.
Yeah.
And I mean, I recently tried to test myself. I did a tournament, no practice whatsoever. I ended up becoming the tournament grand champion. I won weapons. I got second in stick fighting. I got third in point fighting, and I won I got second in kata. And I should have done better in all of them, but my body is beat up from the car accident. It was a metric to find out what was going on. It was a 35 and older division, so I felt good at that being 58. One of the older guys, So, but it is what it is what it is. But yes, Remy taught people how to defend themselves. He didn't coach us on how to be fighters. We had to do it on our own. Like Ty said, we were given all the opportunities. And for the most part, like I said, when we talk about the norm, not the exception, modern Arnis people did not go to tournaments. Okay. And if they did, they were if they're doing the open martial art tournaments, which we'll talk about, they weren't doing it on their Arnis. They were doing it on their karate or the kung fu or the whatever. I had a team that only did Arnis, and we would go up on the open circuit and win. So we took modern Arnis and beat the point fighters at their own game. We beat them doing kata. We beat them doing everything. I'm not saying that we won every match. I'm just saying that the art, we put the training in, and we put the art up against everyone else, and we won just as much as we lost. We always placed in these tournaments, and we were the only guys that I know of that were representing modern Arnis in the open circuit in addition to stick fighting. Now, this is the one thing I want to say, because people are going to hear this now and cry foul. The norm. There's an exception. There's a handful of people that we know who fought. Yep. Rocky Caswick. Okay, well, here's what I said there. Let's go different. Andy Filardo. I know Andy Filardo fights. I've seen some matches that he does because he has a boxing gym as well, and he does stand-up dog brother-esque fighting. I think that's probably the closest thing. More of a stick boxing program. He does that. I've never seen him out of his group, but I did see footage of them fighting in their own gym. So, I mean, I know he's done it. Doug Pierre, I've never seen him fight, but I've heard people confirm that he's been out there and he's done some pretty fun stuff doing it. And Piltis was a friend of mine. He's a weak calf champion as well. Who was the guy who wrote the articles? We met him over at Bobby's camp. He was also training with Bobby, does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He kept taking everybody down, and we wanted to see.
Okay, yeah.
We wanted to see him and Belden go.
Oh, was it Pat?
What?
No, it was Rick
Mitchell. Rick Mitchell.
Yeah.
He actually, I think, was he trained with both Remy and Bobby, and he used to stick fight.
Yep.
I've never seen footage of him fighting though, and nor have I've heard the stories, but I've never seen Rocky fight either. So and when I'm saying this, once again, I'm not saying this to say these people didn't fight. I'm saying I've never witnessed it, just like a lot of them have never witnessed me fighting. Okay. So, but I mean, but we would go to Atlantic City for the NAPMA tournaments. We'd go 30 deep, and we came back with so much hardware. I thought we were going to have to leave somebody back in Jersey. We went to the World Seeker-On Championships in Winnipeg, Manitoba. The first time I went by myself. The second time I brought a team up. Came back bringing a lot of hardware. And basically, it was an open karate tournament with stick fighting there as well. And our guys are winning in all divisions. Our people are winning in all divisions. Not just, we're only winning in stick fighting. No, we're doing forms, we're doing weapons, we're doing point sparring. I mean, you know, so I know that there was individuals that did that, but I never saw a team in Modern Arnis. And let me rephrase this: in North America, that did it on a regular basis. Okay, let me see here. What do we got here?
There's a few of them, yeah. Let's
Yeah,
see.
here, you read these while I get caught up because
Sure. No, again, empty hand is very important. Learning all ranges: shooting range, weapon range, kicking, punching with trapping range, mug, grappling range. Yep, absolutely. Yep. Bill Anderson. That is where the escalation of force comes into effect in dealing with situation to ensure the appropriate amount of response is dictated. Yep. The situation matters. Combat mean knows no rule. Yep. Renee sticking his tongue out at us. It's a warm up. That's all. Nice. Just flesh. The kick is 2 points.
Hey, Miguel, about you earlier.
Hey, he was summoned. You summoned him. Rich, Mr. Rich, I needed 4 or 5 officers to help with someone on PCP, as one officer and me was not enough. That's why I said that. Yep.
Yeah, we're getting into that combat aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. Rich, what? Read the manual? I mean, read the books?
I read that too quick, and
yeah.
read.
That's an old nerd joke with us too. RTFM. Gotcha, Rich. Justin from Philippines. The thing I love about
he's from Toronto.
Oh,
Toronto.
Mixing up with okay. The thing I love about sparring is that you really learn about someone's character during the spar. People's true self, spirit, character really shows. You get to see a different side a lot of times. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, where it really shows up more so are tournaments. No,
especially if they win.
Well, you know, I make sure that all my people win and lose matches, and I make sure I manufacture victories and successes to see how they react when they win and lose.
That's why I said that.
If they don't respond properly,
yep,
I will not let them compete.
Yep.
So martial arts builds character. Martial sports reveals it. Okay. So here we go.
Joe Rubello. Hey, GM Joe, how you doing? Let's see. Remy still had American full contact stick fighters. Pierre was one of his guys he would send out.
I don't think so. First of all, we did mention Doug.
Mm-hmm.
And Remy didn't send anybody out to fight.
Right.
People just did that on their own. No, not at all.
No. Did GM Remy make you guys spar? Nope, he never had us spar.
So I will say, I can honestly say this: I have never seen Remy teach any sparring whatsoever. Now, some people have confused solo baston, semi-sparring, which is a drill. Drills build skills, and they say, "Oh, I'm doing tappy and solo baston. That's sparring." How do we want to say this? Bullshit. I remember part of this is for the show.
It's a drill, and you know, even if you randomize it, as PG Craig was saying, you get randomized and random. It's still within that drill. Just like we do a completely random sombrada,
yeah,
and that's still a drill, even though there's nothing defined other than you block and counter, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of stuff I do in my sparring class is taking our core drills, and you take bits and pieces of it, and can you apply it in that active setting where it's not preset? Even when you randomize it, you still got that preset kind of movement, right? Where if you're sparring and you got somebody that you have no idea what the heck they're going to pull at you,
right? But
if you can take a piece of that drill and apply it, that's actually pretty cool. And that's one of the big focuses that I do in a lot of my sparring classes. We'll take half the class, pull a piece out. And tonight, actually, all we did was single sin volley, either high or basically middle. And all we did is after that, we just started. One person was attacking, and you had to pull off a single sin volley. You get hit.
Yep. So there's a couple of reasons why I want Craig on the show. One of which, you know, he's cool.
All right.
I cover the open tournament scene when it comes to the stick fighting. That's always been my specialty. Craig would come in and do our stuff like that. Our guys were really well. Craig went down another path. Craig went down the dog brother path.
Yeah.
Okay. Now he's a dog brother. He doesn't do DBMA. So there's dog brothers. There's Dog Brothers, the Fighting Clan. That's what he's a part of. Then there's Mark Denny's Martial Expression, DBMA, Dog Brother Martial Arts. And actually, to be honest with you, he just organized stuff that everybody was doing. He has a synthesis, but it's the same techniques that everyone uses. But he's got names for it. He's got a way of training it. He's got nice progressions. So, but after you fought there, how relevant do you think modern Arnis is to that style of fighting?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So I know, like when I first started, like Renee and I met in 2009, and that was my first exposure to the contact stick dueling, right? That aspect, and there was nobody in modern doing that. So, of course, what you do is you try to emulate the people you're fighting. And I didn't move like that. And I got that tar beat out of me, because of it. And then when I started taking a look at how I move, I started kind of saying, you know what, I'm going to fight my game, which is my system. And now that's my big focus is how can I pull apart our drills and use it in that active setting? And the cool thing is I've been able to do it.
Listen, I feel modern Arnis is a bum rap because the people don't commit to the art. That's my position on that. And if people want me to expand on that in person, I'm more than happy to show them. Or talk to them. I could talk and show. We really, But I gotta say this: there's a lot of systems of Filipino martial arts that don't fight, that don't spar whatsoever.
Yep. Absolutely. Or weapons based.
Yeah. So some of it's more of an art, like doing, say, Tai Chi. More, or actually doing like Kendo. Where there's no practical application. Actually, less than Kendo, more like Iaido, where it's the art of doing the material. I mean, listen, karate, you can do katas all day long. Why become popular in the Philippines? Because when you stick fought, you got hurt because there wasn't safety equipment at the time. And people went to karate so they could practice martial arts and still work the next day. But when you got broken limbs and you can't pick up your bag and can't do your stuff, it is what it is. Joe, I'm going to need verification on what you're saying here because okay, here we go.
So Joe says, Kempo Joe says, ask Mark Denny about Tim Gillette choking out a world stick fighting champion with a fang choke in 2 minutes.
I can see that. I've been choked out by a fang choke.
was Tim dog brother gathering?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Which is cool.
Possibly.
I mean, listen, Tim is a full contact. Actually, we get to meet Tim. Well, actually, have you met Tim before?
I haven't met him. No.
We get to meet Tim for the first time
in
October.
Good. That'll be good. Yep.
And Frank says,
"Hey, Frank, how you doing?"
Hey, Frank, are you going up to Mike and May's Columbus Day weekend? Because Ty and I, along with a whole bunch of other people, will be teaching. I'd love to see you there.
Yep.
And then, how much? And while we got another modern East guy, how much actual sparring do you guys do? What rules do you, what kind of rules do you go by? You wear, what kind of gear you wear? We do a lot of padded for safety.
Mm-hmm.
But since we have another modern East guy, and I know what Rich does, he does pretty much the same stuff we do. Because he used to come and hang out with us and spar all the time.
Mm-hmm. So Kurt, so if a lot of FMA people are having issues with actually fighting, what are your thoughts on combat sports athletes crossing over to FMA?
I don't know how to perceive that. Hey, Kurt, if you want, I can send you an invite so you can hop on and actually ask us the question so you can articulate it better. If that's the case, let me know and I'll send you an invite so you can just, because I don't know how to, there's too many different ways I can interpret this comment.
Yeah. Sure.
Renee.
Nice. Laughing dog.
Spars for spaghetti. Here we go. I'll wait for Kurt to get back to us.
That's another Facebook. Yeah. Jim Remy say that a true hectic match, just like 8 seconds, probably less for him being left-handed. It did say something along those lines.
I don't think it was any less because he was left-handed.
No.
It would be less because he was just that much of a badass.
Oh, that's Dexter James.
Okay. At the end of the day, like a lot of fight, actually, because it's a weapon fight, the same thing happens to open hand combatives. There's more stalking than there is actually hitting. So if they actually committed, it'd probably only be like 3 or 5 seconds of actual content and maybe like 60 seconds or so of stalking each other. Okay.
Someone over Parmesan.
Okay. There we go.
Rich, I have a lot of respect to both paths that Dr. Tim and PG Craig went down. Yeah. Hey, they challenged what they're doing and learned from it, which they both love.
Exactly.
What was that? Oh, I got a message here.
All right, I'll read what Bill says. Bill, the only thing I can comment about Arnis tourneys that I have seen, both in the Philippines and the States, is the use of caveman striking aspects. I'm not disrespecting the aspect of sparring in tournaments, but the lack of techniques, as Craig said, fight your own game. Yep, and the simple is good, but it's got to be the simple that you've made simple for yourself.
Yeah. And again, a tournament is a tournament. You play by the rules of the tournament, and that's the game, right? And it depends on the venue that you actually want to pursue.
Oh, I love the next.
Listen, and Kurt's gonna come on the show, by the way.
Oh, awesome, good.
Listen, at the end of the day, we didn't physically participate, but we were in a stick fight, we were in a street fight in the Philippines.
Yeah.
They were swinging bricks, so I don't know how to do that shit.
Picking up bricks and rocks.
Okay, I just sent an invite to
good deal.
Kurt. He's messaging me, so I got to see. Don't know what he's messaging me for. I don't know what, I asked
Can
him
you
before.
pull up Renee's comment? There we go. I love this, Renee. Thank you. Let's see. I do believe sparring has its place, but too much of it isn't good. It develops bad habits. From time to time, you need to put yourself out there and feel absolute fear of getting the tar beaten out of you. But I've seen that a lot of times, especially in Kung Fu. We've seen people that are really, really good at material, and then they go the tournament route, and they start honing what they do for the expectations of the sparring judges, and then they start moving differently and playing a different game.
Oh, there he is.
Hey guys.
Kurt. Hey,
Kurt.
Hey, how's it? Yeah, pleasure meeting you guys. So
Great.
forgive me, I'm doing the good Filipino thing and burning meat on my stove. So
Oh, I gotta burn that. It really is.
I'm hungry, so I'm waiting for it.
yeah.
So let's hear. Because I could have interpreted that question a couple different ways. So
Yeah. So you were saying earlier, like FMA practitioners, some of them having issues with fighting because they don't know how to throw a punch, don't know actually how to fight because they've never been in a fight, let alone like actual combat sports. So my question is, for Filipino martial artists who actually come from boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, MMA as their base, what is your thoughts on that? Because there's a lot of fighters out there that don't do FMA, and there's a lot of FMAers out there that don't fight. So what's your thoughts on like a former boxer coming over to FMA?
I got mixed feelings myself.
I was going to say I've had a few people in different arts that I've trained come from fighting backgrounds, and when they come with an open mind to learn, some of the different ways of moving that isn't optimized for what they've done, it's great because they bring a lot of experience, a lot of timing, a lot of distance management, a lot of things that can help us get better from this side of things. They can bring from that side while they learn what they want to learn. So it can be a great enrichment thing for both directions, I think. That said, depending on how people take it or how sincere they are in playing, I've also been in point sparring matches where I've gotten ribs broken. So that wasn't really a point sparring match, was it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I've had lots of different people that have done combat sports. One of my students came from 15 years of Muay Thai before he started training with me, and I guess are they looking at to do the sparring aspect or just learning FMA as a whole? Kurt, is that
is a good question. I mean, the whole like reasons why getting behind it is up to the individual.
Yeah.
From like a general aspect of like an FMA practitioner learning how to fight and utilize their FMA skill sets, my query is, would the principles of fighting from, say, like combat sports aid in their understanding of FMA combat skill sets?
Okay. In terms of like if you're looking at the stick dueling aspect of FMA, being combat sports, you're definitely going to have a lot of attributes because they're already going to have that timing, the distancing, everything else. They're just going to have to play with the range, because I know that's the one thing, because I've had the fortune to get in the ring. And when I was training with one of the local coaches, when she was helping me, I actually stunk for a long time because my distance was I was so used to the weapon distance. And then as soon as I got into that empty hand distance, my diamond, my distance was off like crazy. And there's definitely, it can actually blend. Mm-hmm. And in terms of actually learning FMA as an art, regardless of what art you do, whether it's combat sports or any kind of other martial art, you're going to bring something to the table that you're going to be able to use.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So I got the mixed feelings, so I've taken a bunch of sport karate guys and have them beat master level stick fighters because I trained them to win the game.
Yeah. When you're talking about the tournament aspect.
Yeah. If we're talking about sport, so first of all, I don't like continuous sparring.
Okay.
For sport, I love it for training. Absolutely love it for training. Matter of fact, that's the requirement for our black belt test. Usually, we used to do it at the test, and now what we do is, because of time constraints, stuff like that, we do sparring ahead of time, and it's witnessed, whether it's done live or we can have a video feed so I can watch it, But continuous sparring is my favorite type of sparring. Unfortunately, it's so subjective when it comes to a sport. Look how many, because it's the same thing as watching a boxing match. Some people are not good enough to judge, and they don't understand what they're looking at. Mm-hmm. And when we're talking sport, all it's about is winning the game. It has nothing to do with the style. So I can take a very good sport karate guy and turn him into a world stick fighting champion, but these people don't have any knowledge about the art. So if the idea was to build a competition team, it's one thing. I think the problem here is that a lot of people learn through seminars and weren't given the opportunities to fight. And the other thing here is, and this is going to sound really bad, there's a lot of Filipinos who've never done this themselves because maybe they made up their own system because they saw that Remy could do this as a business, and people decided to trade on their race. And I know it's controversial, but we've been to Lynette. Have you been to the Philippines, Kurt?
I haven't been back since we left in 1989. I'm planning on going back. I was 6 years old. I was 6 years old when we left.
So if you get a chance to go back, you go to Lynette Park.
Okay.
There's Lynette Park during the day, and there's Lynette Park at night. And like the song goes, the freaks come out at night.
That's fair.
And there's a whole bunch of people there, and even during the day, that all they try to do is make money off the American tourists. They take pictures. Like Craig was there. I think Craig was there. You were there when the one group said, "Hey, can we take a photo with you?" And all they wanted to do was put my photo in their manila, in their folder, so they can say, "Look, Tim Hartman was here." I'm like, "Yeah, I visited. You didn't teach me." This is the norm in Lynette Park. There's a few really core guys, like you would go to Riddell DeGuck, you'd go to
Arnold
Narzo, you go to Master Henry. There's three groups right there that bad to the bone. They're great guys. They know the craft. They can apply the craft. But then there's a whole bunch of other guys, like going to Shaolin. So let's go left turn. Ty knows about this. Going to Shaolin Temple is a commercial venture now.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of Filipinos were inspired by Remy on how to make money, but never did the work to be good at what they do. So now you get these people who teach, and if they've never sparred themselves, how do they teach you how to spar?
That's a good point.
And like then you have other people like Bobby Tabuada. There wasn't equipment back in the day, so he's not accustomed to using that. So and when they would fight, they would just fight. And unfortunately, Anshan had to do time on 2 occasions. So there's a lot of guys out there who I know who fought, but I don't know if they stick fought. And there's a whole other story. I've been in a shitload of fights in my life, none of which were weapon-based fighting. So, but of course, as a Filipino martial artist, when people hear, "Oh, have you ever fought?" Yeah, I fought. People make some assumptions, or I might let people think, "Oh, I never said that," but they thought that. Well, you never discourage saying that. So, I think there's a lot of stuff that comes back from that. And the other thing is like, okay, why? So most of the Filipino martial artists in the States didn't start in Filipino martial arts.
I didn't.
Okay. So when you're learning it as a secondary system, do you want to dump $300 to $500 for sparring gear that you may use once every month or so?
I still have yet to make that purchase.
There we go. So now you got companies like Action Flex and Bunal Weapons who make phenomenal padded weapons that you can still get that sensory feedback. Still not the same thing as it's not a real fight. Never is.
Right.
Fight's a fight. Sparring. But I think the athleticism and the willingness to get physical could be a positive influence on our industry. I think part of the problem is, once again, I think if the systems that don't, our arts are not going to continue unless you learn how to be a self-sufficient program, which means we need to punch, kick, lock, throw. Well, you need to be able to punch and kick. You need to be able to teach people how to defend themselves without a weapon. Okay. So if the worst thing you did is put boxing in your program, at the least, that'd be huge, because then you'd have an open hand element. And too many systems aren't willing to do that because they're not looking at the big picture. If you're in it to make money for yourself, you don't give a shit about what your students do. You're just in it to make money for yourself. I'm worried about the art going generations beyond myself. And Remy created a system that will work on that. But if he did the Balintawak system, which is the last art he did before forming the art, it doesn't have sustainability because it is only going to be effective as an add-on system. You could not have a full-time Balintawak school. You could not have a full-time Sarada school. You could not have a full-time Bahalana school. And there's a whole bunch of other schools that never pick up or that never drop the weapons. You could not have full-time schools in these programs because you need that. Okay, there's my rant. I'm sorry.
You're supposed to say that your fights were weaponized because you're supposed to say, "I am the weapon."
I am the weapon. I am the doctor. Yeah. Luke, I am not your father. All right. But listen, and I think the infusion of the mindset. See what I started in Arnis, and my friends, we picked up wooden sticks and fought each other. My friends, not my classmates. Wasn't allowed to do that in the school. But I would spar people open hand and go, well, we got to do it with the sticks. And we didn't do any safety gear. Well, we didn't do any headshots either. And we didn't try to kill each other. But I had shitloads of welt marks. And then I learned how to do PVC sticks with foam insulation and duct tape. And then eventually Action Flex made a really good weapon. And if you do the Action Flex, don't get the Sports Series, get the Hit Series. That's the ones they made for the Dog Brothers. So you can get some pretty hard padded sticks out, but we didn't have that. We never thought about it. And if we had gear back then that was economical like it is today, we could do that.
Beach rebar and some foam insulation is what you're saying.
Or a pipe with some garden hose around it.
Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, well that's Mongoose Master. Yeah, we met people in the Philippines that stopped time. It was awesome. It was. I don't want to put that kind of foot. We are not the McDojo life group. We're not Bullshido. We're not any of those groups. I don't want to kind of put that kind of footage out there because I don't want to do that. But in private, I'd be more than happy to show people plenty of footage to give what I'm talking about. The masters are the exception in the Philippines. They are not the norm, unfortunately. But I did go there. But it was a good question there, Kurt.
Yeah.
I think ultimately we could benefit from those people joining us.
Yep.
Providing that they came with the mindset to try to learn our programs without relying on their martial techniques from what they've already learned.
Mm-hmm.
Because they would bring that level of physicality with us and understanding. Although I remember a friend of mine, I was sparring one of my guys in his karate school. So he goes, "Hey, Tim, can I play with you guys?" Okay. And I ended up doing an abanico. He caught me off guard, and I abanikoed and hit his thumb. And his people told me he whined for like 3 weeks on that because I was out of town. I came back, and like that's all he did for like 3 weeks, complain about it. So it is a different type of pain getting hit with the stick than getting. And these guys would crack each other's ribs. I'm like, no way in hell do I want to play with you guys. And then I do a little abanico to his wrist or his finger, and he cries like a little baby. It's a different type of conditioning. So I'm going to say guys are tough.
So what about the FMA MMA group that's starting to take prominence there in the Philippines along the same line because it's got the full combat sport mentality plus the full contact stick fighting. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, you mean that judo, whatever that thing is?
I have no idea.
Cage?
Yeah, FMA MMA. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're separate rounds. We actually had an opportunity. Craig and I were part of a group in Canada that was going to do cage stick fighting.
I remember that.
They did one event. I was the commissioner until they wouldn't write. I'm a part owner of a business in Canada, and I needed to have my attorney, who was part of that, sent them a letter to release me from responsibilities. And they wouldn't do it, so I had to pull out because I can't risk them coming after my company up there because it's not just me, And they would say, like they were using weak cap helmets, and people say, well, why don't you use a fencing helmet? I mean, it's not designed for that use, but it works really well. And that's when I stopped them. I go, and that's the problem. When you go to court, they're going to say it's not designed for that kind of use. Mm-hmm. And no one's going to sue until someone sues. And that's what people forget about. Mm-hmm. One of my black belts plays music. Their band formed a corporation, so in case something crazy happens, it doesn't take their houses and stuff like that. So people don't think about that. You got all these hardcore guys that want to train with you. You need insurance, you need waivers, you need agreements. And when someone says, no, you don't, I'm going to tell you right now, you do. You see the things that are in the background here? The gas pump and all that other stuff? Those are my things. I am not going to let people take my things. And if someone gets hurt, they're going to go after my things. Unfortunately. That's why you need to. But, once I've seen the lawsuits happen when someone gets hurt. And like I said, everyone's fine until someone gets hurt. And then it all goes shitty. But anyways, okay, that's my rant. Okay, let me see.
Well, thanks. I'm going to pop off.
Hey, food for us.
Yep.
Thank you.
Meet you.
Later.
That's cool. There we go. Face to a name. That's nice. I'm glad.
There we go. And look, see now, and listen, for those who are listening in, this is what we do. Hey, Chris, how you doing? Ooh, wait a minute. You're not going to. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Here we go. Craig.
There you go. Nice.
Okay.
I think you're at 9:30 with Bill Anderson.
Did I get this one?
Yes.
Okay, Bill Anderson.
Bill Anderson. As you know, I trained in the 70s, Philippines, before gear came out. In the later days, we didn't have padded sticks or padded armor. Yep. Different kind of feedback, right? We had a few injuries back then. Those are learning opportunities.
Yeah, pasta.
Touch the pasta, they get to put in.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen. I mean, that's why people left Arnis and went to karate after World War II. Right. Why is modern Arnis so popular in the Philippines? Because they went stick on stick. Yeah. They used a modern teaching approach. Yep. And it's not that they didn't fight, but they started using safety equipment. And Ernesto was the one credited for creating the helmet that WeCAF modeled their stuff after.
Right.
Okay.
And the reason why it looks like a kendo helmet in some regards is because it was based off of a kendo helmet. So, all right. So why do we think sparring is important?
Test our material, like we kind of what I mentioned earlier. That's a big focus of what I do. We got our core material. It's a preset moves that develops all those different aspects, right? The whole drills develop skills kind of statement. But I like to take bits and pieces of the drills, and can I apply it to test my material?
I'm going to take exception to that, and here's why. You'll understand as soon as I say that.
Yep.
So it doesn't let you test your material; it lets you test your understanding and your internalization of said material.
There we go.
And I think that's an important distinction.
Yeah, good way to clarify for sure.
Yep. And so I actually, I was actually going to go on a rant on another forum about, hey, we're gonna pressure test our this technique. No, you're not. You're not. You're looking at a technique that you may or may not understand. You may or may not have put the work in. You may or may not be able to do it yet. You still have stuff to learn about it. And now you're going to test it? No way. You need to do the work, figure it out, get better at it, put some pressure on it, put some challenge into the situation. And at some point, it still boils down to you. That's who you're testing.
Still driving me crazy with that phrases that we talked about.
Yep, I know. I still can't remember that. So anyway, I agree with you, Craig. I just wanted to add that little.
No, it's a good way to clarify it. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
you're understanding your ability to execute the material.
Listen, because I want to tell you right off the bat, for those who are listening, you don't need much to fight.
Nope.
Your angles of attack, whatever those are, to be, and I don't think we have 12 angles of attack.
Forehand, backhand, overhead poke.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, and whether it comes horizontal or diagonal, high, middle, or low, who cares?
That's flavor.
But at the end of the day, listen, I do an X and a plus. Everything's on one of those lines. And you know what? When it doesn't work, when my angle one doesn't work, you know what I do? I do it again.
Right. Well, and it's not the angle one that didn't work, it's your application of it that didn't work. Yep.
Okay, so here we go. What do you got there?
Morgan, taking the stick out of the fight changed the game played. I started putting fighters at my events with synthetic and steel blades to fight with. Stick versus blades changed the game. Nice. Of course.
Yeah. We were at one of Oliver's tournaments up in Toronto, and they had a synthetic sword. It definitely changed things. Unfortunately, I don't think it was safe as it should have been, but we were in a foreign country, and if that's what they want to do.
Bill again, that aspect of picking up sticks and rocks during a street fight is a norm in a lot of Asian country. Yep.
Yeah.
It's not in our styles most times. Craig, we got to get you in the next time you come to town. Justin, yep.
Oh, Mark.
I think everybody needs to see Craig. That's my rant, is that everybody needs to see Craig. If you haven't met him, haven't played with him, haven't touched him, haven't let him touch you painfully, then you're missing out.
Okay, painfully. But wait, does that like mean like Lucy Liu in Payback when she was the dominatrix, or is that a different?
Not quite. Mark Medeiros. A combat sports athlete with minimal use of stick will upset a longtime FMA artist with no combat fundamentals.
Yep.
And and there you go. That's actually why do we like sparring? Because of that.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, the problem here is, let's and Mark brings up a great point there.
Yep.
That's why when I look at some of the fights at the gatherings, the Dog Brother gathering, you have some people who have no weapon training whatsoever.
Yep.
And they go in and they win the event because they're wearing safety gear. It's minimal. People will come and they'll come in and shoot in and go in on you. And they'll even drop their weapon in the process, not worrying about it, because all they want to do is choke you out or something. Mm-hmm. And they're wearing a helmet to keep from getting knocked out. And had we known that, and I'm sure personally, if someone would have done that to me, if we were talking about, hey, we're not going to do groundwork, because I know Steve talked about that story. Yeah, we'll do all stand up. Well, if it's like, hey, you want to do groundwork? I'm using a bigger stick because I'm going to make you pay to shoot in on me.
Yep.
There's. That's the problem. Like, we do padded fighting because we work, or my students work, and we'll do stick and kick. Unfortunately, it's not equal because you can generate more power with a kick than you can with the padded stick. So I got to make sure I go dial it down because we got to make sure everything. We got to be careful because some people swing really hard with that padded stick, and if they put the same effort behind a kick, it's going to hurt someone more than the stick will because it's a padded stick. It doesn't have the mass. Now I put a hunk of kamagong in your hand. Whole nother story. Because you got to remember, guys, what is rattan for?
Training.
It's our practice weapon.
Yep.
What would we? I mean, listen. You're not going to see rattan on the street because I go into Lowe's and Home Depot. You don't see wooden rattan dowels there. If that was the case, we all would have been buying them and making our own sticks.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
It's going to be a 2x. Actually, I got a pair of axe handles that came in from Amazon. Yeah, the handles aren't right. I'm still trying to find those one. Eric from Orlando, Screama, hooked me up so good with that 26-inch axe handle or 28-inch axe handle. Oh my God. I am in search for more like that. And once I get them, I'm going to get a bunch of them. So if you guys want them, I'll have them for you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, they were awesome. These are actually bigger grip. You'll see them in 11 days is our training camp.
That's right. I'm looking forward to that.
You just want to get out of town.
Yeah, there's that.
You want to cuddle with Chad.
Is he coming?
He didn't deny it. So as of right now, we have 10 days, 11 hours till it begins.
All right.
Actually, so tomorrow I will make our 10-day announcement. Yay. And I'm not sure if that's the pre-conference cutoff or whatever. So if we used real weapons, which are going to be stuff that we'd see, the stuff that we witnessed in the Philippines, you wouldn't have people dancing around doing all this stuff. No. It would be whacked and done.
Good brick bat. Yep.
So, Morgan, what Morgan got here? Did we already cover that one? Or
no, this is a good one. Actually, I touched on something you said a second ago. People stop crashing in with no defense once they realize there are serious ramifications for using stick fight tactics in a blade fight. Crash and bash disappears entirely. Or even with live weapons, even if they're impact weapons, right? You have to pay to go in, you're gonna double think that.
And here's what I'm gonna say. It's all dependent on the instructor. We have to be the ones that show our students and make them aware of what's going on. You can get one or two that just don't get it because there's the quantity of students you're dealing with. It just takes more time with certain people. Yep. But if they're not getting it, that's our fault. Someone actually, we talked about, I think they made a comment on last week's show when I made the thing is on it. When a student doesn't do it right, I look at myself. He goes, that's great. He was teaching in Asia and he saw the same thing. When the Asian students were learning English and they were having a bad time, he realized that he didn't do enough prep and didn't spend enough time and did the job wrong. So this goes back to that conversation. If one of my students doesn't get it, I look at me and say, what did I do wrong? Yeah. And if I do all my checks and balances, it could be, well, he needs more time. He or she can need more time, or I taught it right. They just didn't learn it right, But I go with me first and try to eliminate. When I teach a seminar, what did I do wrong? And sometimes, they're just not into it. It's not you, Tim. It's just they're not into it. But how can he not be into the Datu?
Right.
Okay.
Or the material. Rodent, bad judge, talking to themselves because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. That's Jack Handy, right? Renee, I find that no matter what art you do, fighting is the concentrate of what you train in or how you train your art. I hope that makes sense. It's a gel. Bill, you are preaching to the choir about Luneta Park, Tim. Seen the same things. Nice. Kaiju. Chris, not just FMA. Once a month, I teach a sparring class at Mizuchi Dojo. The instructor doesn't have a sparring background, so he teaches a sparring class there. Okay, no good. That exposure is good. Bill, it is this even the same way in some of the provinces north of Manila. Oh, for park training.
Yeah.
Morgan, who here spars with steel?
Craig did a little, but not the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They got those weird spatula trainers.
Oh, okay.
For daggers, right, Craig?
Yeah.
Those things
like in stripes?
No.
I just see who gets that reference.
No one was on the oven.
Now we get to see who's
Oh.
old. Yeah.
Hey, well, come on.
I don't think Craig didn't get that
You
reference.
keep
did he?
rubbing it in that I'm like a couple months older than you.
So old, so old. 1 month, I think.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Let's see. Kurt, me, Spars. Okay.
Me. Well, that wasn't
I don't
part
know
of
what that
that.
was for. Yeah, it might have been in response to the typing. Let's see. Morgan Garrett, you need to some hang out, bro. Definitely, I'm missing that. Facebook user, I don't know who that is. Oh, that's Dexter again. Whoa, Datu, Tim, crazy. I was having the same conversation with Master Ron England about Derobio's Crimea, which is that about back when we were talking about which ones don't spar? I can't remember. That was 15 minutes ago. Bill Anderson, Dakip Diwa, translated to warrior mindset. If you have to be able to flip the switch if the need arises. Renee, I've knocked people out with padded sticks. Padded is just used to make you feel. Wait, there we
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I was talking to Ed Pilton, who was the UFC. No, it was a week after world champion. I said, I just do padded. I don't know. It was Tim, dude. I've broken a guy's arm doing that.
Sure.
It's harder, but this guy was like a machine. Yeah, that's it. Jago
Jago
Well,
Totos.
anything goes. Sparring.
So
Yep.
that is a group that has 3 rounds of fighting, and stick fighting is part of it. And there's like an MMA part of it as well. I know some people were affiliated with it over there, but they separate the rounds. I'd have to watch the whole match to find out exactly how that goes.
Okay.
Those guys loved using pics in videos of us. Oh, sure. I bet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, though that was the World Stick Fighting Group.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a whole thing.
Morgan, who asked about the sparring with steel. I ran a full contact bladed event, steel and synthetics, 4 years in a row with 0 injuries. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the safety cure is not a get out of jail free card.
Here's the question: how many people? No, because I mean, how many? Because I'm trying to figure out how many matches ran just to get a statistic in my head. I mean, because
well, that and where did they come from? It was all from the same school.
Fighting helps you blend.
Yep, fighting helps you blend arts concepts outside your art. You put it all together, synthesize. Kurt, I'm trying, homie. I really am. Was down for GM Bobby's WCC and Datu Kelly's Water and Steel this same month. Yeah, it's hard to do everything, Kurt. But you should do everything.
Yeah. Clone yourself and make sure you're at everything you eat.
Bill Anderson. Didn't Remy back in the 80s state in his black belt article that if you learned the 5 basic angles, you could defend against most other systems? Simple works.
He may have. We really.
Could be. That was what I was trying to get to, Kurt. I don't know what that was. Bill, 1.5 to 1 point or 1.2, 1 1/4 to 1 1/2 diameter sticks most definitely will teach you a lesson on pain when it hits.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I like that's my jam right there.
Wampin sticks. I call those wampin sticks. Morgan, come to Portland and look at what the homeless are carrying. Machetes, axes, all kinds of weapons, not stick, real talk.
Okay.
Yeah. Hammers.
GM Harry Green. We had a great time this weekend teaching at the gathering. Yeah.
Oh,
Greg's
excellent.
met him. We had a blast.
Excellent.
Matt. Oh, Will.
Hey, nice. Too many people train with the mindset of not getting hit. Well, that'd be great if you could do it. The reality is you will get hit and you need to train accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Renee, if you are being overwhelmed by crash and bash, then that's a hike in your game that you need to work on. Sure. When I have a BJJ black belt, there is no chance I'm letting the person in.
Yep.
Yep.
Again, it's all, everything falls to you eventually.
Well, my issue with here's my issue, and you're right. If you've had that experience to learn from that, to me though, it's just I think that is it's grimy to me. When you agree, because the thing is, if you're not going to treat, well, it's like I've seen sports jiu-jitsu, and And the one grappler was like, why does a punch and a kick work the same thing as a chokeout? Because a punch and a kick is a knockout. And then we watched the UFC just later that week, and they're on the ground. The guy came up. The guy stood up with him. He punched him with a cross, and it was over. I go, and that's why kicks and punches have to be similar points to chokeouts, because you're not treating with the same respect. A punch can drop somebody, and at the time, grapplers would have been very susceptible to it because they didn't have that kind of conditioning. And actually, grapplers as a whole have that susceptibility. It's the MMA fighters that have that conditioning. Because how many of them train to take a punch to the face? That's when they cry foul. Say, hey, what are you doing to me?
Mark again. The reaction timing and understanding of timing, along with footwork and distance, a boxer or Thai fighter, etc., pays dividends, as they are more likely to land the first blow. If that first blow happens to be with a weapon, that's a wrap. Yeah, they just have to do an adjustment. That's all. It actually happens pretty fast in my experience. They make that adjustment pretty fast. Brock, it took me months to get 2 of my students to realize long swords weren't baseball bats. Nice. Yeah, hopefully it didn't ruin any swords that way. Kurt, actually, I'm planning a trip back to the Philippines in 2025. I think we're going fall of 24, right?
Yeah, I'm going this February 24. We're going November 24.
Yep.
And then maybe 2025. I have commitments that are kind of bringing me over on the Sequeron side of things.
Okay, good.
I don't know. My checkbook is not going to like it.
Pugay mga kyud mabuhay kuntao.
Maganda umaga.
That's right.
Our brother. I got to make sure we meet up with Hugh Unyo when I get over there.
Wow, Bill. I'll be 70 next Monday, so tell me that I'm old.
You're just the right age. Okay.
Yeah,
that's Dexter again. Yeah, yes, empty hand techniques added to the system when he's talking about the Ron England, the Robio, etc. discussion.
And here's the thing: if we want the arts to move forward, we have to make it appealable to everybody. If it's just a certain skill set, oh well, this is just weapon training. This will enhance what you're doing. Well, then I want to do my base and worry about the weapons later. There's a lot to doing with our weapons. The things that it offers us is amazing, and we can do that connection. Like when I taught this weekend, I taught the Daga Drill 3 to show how we can use a knife drill as an open hand combatives drill. I was also doing disarming and say, listen, why do we start weapon on weapon? Because it makes both practitioners feel more comfortable. When you have a weapon and I don't, I feel a little anxious. When I have a weapon, it's my pacifier. I mean, I don't suck at it. But as I build up speed, skill, and the biggest one, confidence, eventually I put my stick down and I deal with the armed assailant without having any weapons, which also means I need to be able to throw leather. All right, here we go.
I fight a buffet back of the breadstick. Well, yeah, breadstick sparring. There you go. Big old giant French loaves.
Heroes love to headbutt. Yeah.
There you go.
Yes, they do.
I like that too. Morgan, hey, thanks for letting me participate. Great episode. Have a good one. Glad to have you participate, Morgan. Do we know? Has anybody here met Morgan?
No, but I might be out that way soon.
Oh, good. Bill be out in Philippines is around the same time, Tim. After this trip.
Okay, cool.
And Rodent, have a full contact lightsabers match and get them to come to the dark side with only a few more trophies tournament.
That's why I've got on Darth Datu, baby.
I did get those Temu lightsabers. You can bonk them a little bit. You can do friendly drills with them.
Yeah.
In a fight, headbutts all day. I love headbutts. Hey, that's right up there on that, for lack of a better word, corner area. Is some of the hardest bones in your body. And I used to greet people that way. They didn't like it after a while. I thought it was funny. Anyway, so I want to take advantage of you, Craig. Is there anything that we want to cover with sparring or fighting or combat or
I think we touched on a lot of aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like everybody's got their, like I said, I delved into the other aspect with the contact stick dueling, more of the continuous aspect, and proving that our material does have validity in that venue. And Datu's and his group have definitely gone out into the sports point fighting. And I've had an opportunity to do a lot of La Banderos, Datu's tournament. Actually, we've done, we were doing the wee calf variation with the kicks.
Oh, yeah. At the Arnold Classic.
Yeah. And the kicks actually made a big difference compared to the stick because you had the big coat on. But I'm sorry that even the skinny coat, the padded coat with the small sticks. Yeah, you didn't quite feel the sticks, but you felt the kicks coming in.
Hey, I was going to touch back on something you said earlier today with the idea of then kind of deconstructing your material and put it into sparring to get that look at it, to have it in a less organized fashion and see what you can do with it. I think that gets understated a lot. So I wanted to have you talk about that some more again, because I think that deconstructing and reconstructing material is a key way to learn things. So can you describe that some more, what you do with that?
Listen, at the end of the day, for those who have also done traditional martial arts, that's doing bunkai.
Yep.
That's form applications. Yep. We do the same things, but we take our drills and deconstruct them as if it was a kata.
Yep.
Exactly. Night, Renee. Renee was just saying that.
Yeah, my four-legged buddy is getting.
Yeah, well, that's a big focus, because I know for longest is, if you look at a lot of the stuff out there that's influenced a lot of sparring, it's based on drills, right? You don't just go randomly start fighting and think you're going to get better. You got to have some kind of base. You got to have some kind of preset, so that way you're looking for that point in time. Like, look, when we do disarms, nobody's going to stand out there and hold a stick and let you take away a stick.
Right.
But it's a reference point at that point in time. So if you ever see that, then the motor memory can try to kick in. And that's what we do. Like, if you look at a lot of our core drills, I'll take one aspect out of the drill. Like syllabus on tappy, we were talking about that earlier. The entries going from long range into the butting. And I remember one night we did that, where the only thing I was allowed to attack with is I had to block and come in and throw a puño, and then I'd follow up with a punch and hit. And when somebody is at long distance is trying to take your head off, wow, is that ever hard?
Right.
It's because now you're timing your aspect. And that's one of the things I like doing is, pulling one little piece out of our core drill, just an aspect, just one little aspect, and look at the entry, look at that drill, look at that particular technique. Like tonight we were basically just working on high single, and it was basically you block and hit right away. Well, if you did that and you're standing right in front of the person's going to hit you back. Well, you got to move. You got to get out of the way. So you start off with that base move, and then now the person's swinging for the boat. Are they hitting an out strike, or are they just trying to take your head off with a through strike? And how can you take that same movement and time it?
Right. I think people forget that they actually do some deconstruction built in. So when somebody learns a disarm right off the bat, right, and they put it in this, frankly, made up position for them to work the mechanics of how does the disarm work, that's deconstructing what you would do for a technique. That is not the technique. That is a piece of things, right? It's missing the timings, missing the distance, it's missing the positioning, et cetera, but it lets you work on that joint and deconstruct that little thing. So I think people forget that they do that already. So the fact that you're, applying it across the board and in the sparring microscope, I think is great. And like I said, I just wanted to highlight that again, because I think people could use more of that kind of approach with everything they do, and also in every venue, right? So maybe there's something you want to do, and you want to see how it goes in a drill. Maybe you want to see how it does in sparring. Maybe we want to see how it does with a different tool, et cetera, right? Deconstruct it, put it back together, stick it together.
Absolutely. And it's also getting to the root of your art too, understanding what you're doing, and not just become that automaton that's going through the drill because sensei said or guru said, like, which a lot of times, I got stuck in that for a while. And then, but now it's looking at and understanding what you're doing.
Nice. Perfect. Let's see.
Oh, you're on mute there, Datu.
So we don't hear him chew, I think.
Of course, Renee with his very astute comment that I'm on brothel mode.
But he was leaving.
We're going to start calling you Roxanne too now.
Roxanne, you don't got to put on the red light. I can't do that anymore. I used to be able to do pretty good. Okay. Okay.
So, Bill, feedback from people who use the material that we teach is always a good way to filter what works and what doesn't, in his opinion. Yeah. Feedback's always good.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Hey, Renee's still there. He's fooling. He said you got to say
nice. Bill, tear it down and rebuild it to keep as a viable means of offensive means. Sure. If you don't use your brain about what you're doing, you're not doing what you think you're doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I said that right.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
I learned from Mr. Miyaga, hit first, learn the rules second. That's right.
Okay.
Nice.
I don't know who Hi Y'all is, but can you see who that is?
It doesn't show up on Facebook keys yet.
Okay. Now listen, you do that with kata. We do it the same with our stuff.
Yep.
And what do you do? It's trial and error. First, you learn how to hit. Yep. And listen, when I'm talking about sparring, because that's today's topic, first thing I tell my students is don't worry about blocking. Because the thing here is you get one person that's afraid of hitting. And they're like, you don't realize the person that you're hitting doesn't want to get hit either. Right. But since you're not attacking, they're taking all the shots.
Yep.
And it's so much easier to hit than it is to react to it.
Yep.
I got a good announcement, by the way, here. We'll talk about this in a minute. But I mean, with everything, whether it be your open hand forms, your weapon forms, your kata, kata is a static drill. Mm-hmm. It's not kata. Everyone says, "Oh, it's kata, it's form." I go, "Yes, but it's a drill. It's martial movement. That's the exercise. It's not doing the techniques, because if you want to get good at kicking, you just kick. You don't do kata to get good at kicking. You get good at doing a kata benefits your martial movement." Mm-hmm. So, martial movement, the benefit of a drill. Yeah. It's just maybe more of a static drill. And like when I was doing my Bondo, you would change your forms based on the environment, because maybe the room wasn't big enough for you to do the form, so you had to add turns in and stuff like that.
Sounds really
yeah, so here we go. Max
got a great comment, like always. Application to the maneuvers can be extremely interesting. When in shorts and t-shirt, I train and fight 100% different than when geared up in pads and armor. You guys are spot on with the idea that fundamental movements are critical. Small adjustments to meet the circumstances of the confrontation. The fancy stuff rarely works, right? It's a pocket thing, right? You keep the fancy stuff for understanding its concepts, and then when it's great, it pops out. But that's not what you go to.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, it was Coach Danny. Hey, Danny!
Hey.
No. All right, and listen. Okay, so this weekend we are doing our second virtual test. So what we do in our organization for our virtual students, we just test them for plain black belt. Degrees have to be done in person because we want to get that extra feel and stuff like that. But this is something we've done working with person, but they're doing their test this weekend. Tales. So, are you available 11 o'clock Sunday morning?
That I am.
All right, Tales, noon, because he's an hour ahead of us.
Yep.
So noon, we're good for noon. I will put the invitation out on Sunday.
Nice.
And then Talos is doing. We're going to talk about that. We're going to go through our events. I just put Talos' event up on our website. As a reminder to all of our World Modern Arnis Alliance members, if you are doing seminars, and when I remind people, I'm reminding these two people, if you're doing seminars, get the flyers to me so I can put them up on the website. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying. These guys are fairly good at that. Not really. You get it up, as long as you get it up on Facebook, then I get access to it. So, although I want it a certain way. So, all right.
Talk, stick, get hit.
Okay.
That's Danny again. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about the settings and the
Yeah, I don't. It depends on which way you're watching. Best thing to do if you have YouTube, that's probably the best way to watch us. Oh, here we go.
My Bondo, you would not even the Bondo. Nice.
Knew he was going to go there. I knew somebody
Yeah,
was.
of course.
And he goes, "Yay!" So,
Nice.
or then he's got a student that's testing with him. We're going to grade him at the same time. Not for black, but we're going to do an evaluation.
Nice.
I don't know if he knows it or not, but we're going to do that. I don't know if Talos knew it, but now he does. So, okay, so hey,
Is that Dean Franco?
Dean, is that you, brother?
I think so.
Yeah, he's going to be calling me tonight. Yeah, he's calling me right after the show tonight.
He's calling you out, right?
Calling me out, say, "Hey, man."
It's a sparring event episode.
So Dean Franco is alive, everybody. If you maybe it's me using his account.
There you go.
Okay, so all right, we've talked about what sparring is and all the different things. I want to talk really quickly. I don't think it's going to take a lot. This is because I want to wrap it up. Basically, we've been doing pretty good. We've been having 20 plus people watch. Last week we had 30 people watching live, which was a huge input increase. So why did the WMA become the sparring clan of modern Arnis? I think we've kind of said that during the show already.
Because it's a built-in expectation.
Yeah,
it is a built-in expectation. We have
do
the
it.
largest group.
Yeah,
and that was the one appeal. Like when I started training with you, I was like,
the one appeal.
I get the stick spar. That's very cool.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I didn't know of many people who fought back then who represented modern Arnis because we didn't have social media that we could keep tabs on people. So right off the bat, someone's going to say, "Well, what about this guy, that guy, the other guy?" I go, "Never heard of him." And we talked about this when goes back on another show on Dean's show when Chris Chute made a comment. It's like, "Well, how does this guy claim to be the East Coast rep for Remy? How come he doesn't know about my father?" Because we didn't have social media. No one knew about anybody.
Yeah.
He didn't notice you, Craig. Oh my goodness! How do you not?
Just off to the side.
You're darker for some reason, and your lights are not as
Yeah, maybe.
There we go. Sam did the same thing. One of the things he loved about the WMA.
Yep.
So
No,
I listen. Modern Arnis people didn't fight because they didn't do it as a primary art. They did it as a secondary or tertiary art, and they weren't going to invest all the money they needed to fight if they were only going to do it every now and then. What's this? Strikes are letters, audios are syllabus, drills words, and sparring texts. Look at that. He's a smart guy. Literally, he's educated. So I used to host tournaments while Remy was alive. We'd go to tournaments while Remy was alive. We came back, we won, and I was going to karate tournaments, taking our Arnis players and competing. Like Miguel Ruby told me, you're one of the few guys that actually have hands in FMA. Because and he's in an area that's very weapon-centric systems.
Yeah.
Not to say that there's people that doesn't have hands. And the other problem here is a lot of people who have hands in FMA, their hands didn't come from FMA. Now, maybe it was enhanced that way, but it didn't come from there.
Gotcha.
Okay, you've got 2 accounts? Oh, he came in on this way, yeah. YouTube is better. Yep.
definitely good info. Yeah.
Yeah, delays the comments. Yeah.
Okay. Rodents. They're only one with hands. They need to stop sparring like.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think the reason why we became the the sparrers of the modern Arnis world, because we were all in, because listen, Buffalo is a big karate town, and they competed, and the thing I like doing with them is sparring. So they helped me get better. So, well, what we should do with all of our weapons.
Yeah.
And I did it with all my weapons until I realized we need to get padded weapons. Yeah. I at boxing before being introduced to FMA hand fighting. Yep. I had a boxer that came in, it was a powerlifting boxer, and he was able to adapt very quickly because when we were doing the stick fighting, he was doing the bobbing and weaving. I mean, I saw this guy bob and weave in the adult divisions underneath strikes. I'm like, dang. I mean, but a lot of that was taking his boxing, and reapplying to what we were doing. And even sticking faster.
Like I said, a lot of the guys with a combat sport background, they can adapt pretty easily if they want to, and they just got to change a little bit of the range and timing, and they'll get it faster than you realize sometimes.
Yeah. But I can't take credit for all of his success. See, that's the whole thing.
Right.
My thing is, how do we develop somebody from the ground up?
Right. Not
taking people from another sport where we're reapplying their training. And I don't want to, I want integrity for us. I want to take someone and bring it. And I've done this. I've brought people to karate tournaments and they've won. Now they may have won with somebody else's forms. Okay. So like Ryan Montolopoulos, our guy who's doing movies now, he would do Shotokan's Basai Dai. Okay. But he wasn't a karate guy. He was an Arnis guy doing somebody else's form. Mm-hmm. We would take Bokata Ichi, which is very big, and there's another word for it up in Canada. And we've modified that. That's our Sabat form now. Or, which was really a Chinese spear form. Yep. It's all Fu. Although Ty would say it's all Mantis, But, we would take things. But, I mean, like, the thing here is I took my guys. I said, what are the rules? And we learned how to become competitive in that venue. And I think that's a more palatable word. I don't want to say we were able to dominate. In some places, we were. Some places, we were out of our depth. But we became competitive in everything that we've done based on modern Arnis. Mm-hmm. And I think the others didn't have that, and they didn't want to step out of their comfort zone, so they never went down the path of becoming fighters they didn't interact with the rest of the Filipino community, right, or FMA community.
I think that's the big thing, that whole comment about stepping out of your comfort zone.
It's hard.
And sparring is definitely stepping out of your comfort zone.
Which is nice. No, and that was one of the things that, for me, if you're going to take it as a complete program, right? Mm-hmm. Then to me it should have sparring at some point. Maybe not emphasize, maybe emphasize it, but it should be in there somewhere. And like anything else, it's up to the individual location of how we're there. But if it's built in, then that's another sign.
Mm-hmm.
Dimak. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I get it. Listen, so at the end of the day, I mean, this goes back to the thing. We became the everything because we were it by default, not because necessarily we were the guys. But when you're doing another system, you're not going to make that as your primary system. But and I think that's why we end up becoming that group. And the passion to do it.
Yeah.
You guys got anything else you want to say in closing on this, or do you think we pretty much covered it all, or covered enough?
Yeah. Well, it's a good exploration. I mean, you go on for an ever and ever, but we covered a lot of good stuff, I think.
Yeah, and lots of good comments. Lots of good input.
Yeah, thankfully, yes.
All right, so let's do our favorite part of this. Let's talk about what's coming up.
There we go. Let's see.
Okay, here we go. So this weekend, I will be at the Renaissance Martial Arts Festival. I will only be there Saturday. So that's in Rochester, New York.
And I'll be at the Warrior Seminar up in Maryland.
Okay, you got that going on this weekend as well.
Yep.
Next weekend is our instructor development camp.
And we'll all be there.
We'll all be there. And this is an amazing camp. I don't know of any other camp that's like it. Well, we sit down and have a classroom environment for learning as well as mat time. And it's the right balance of both.
Yep. It is.
You
It
know,
really is. Yep.
We get one hell of a workout, but we actually sit down and say, hey, because I'm going to teach the whole weekend. We're not going to switch up and then change gears and then all of a sudden you go, hey, I got a question about this. Well, let's get into that.
Well, then that touches on my emphasis there too. If you're not training with this an appreciable amount of the time, then you're not doing what you think you are.
Yep.
So during that weekend, we're also doing Pontotoc 3. So that'll happen at our camp. Some people may come in just for that. Others may be doing the virtual thing. I got to put the link out for that. The following weekend in Salem, Massachusetts, Ty and I, along with a whole bunch of other people, will be teaching at the FMA Collaborative event.
Yep.
So a whole bunch of good people. That's hosted by Mike and May Williams, which I got to get their events up here.
Nice.
The following weekend, Talis is teaching in Brazil. So I don't know where all this stuff is in Brazil. So I don't even know. I barely. It's not in Rio de Janeiro. I don't know if it's near Rio. I don't know anything else. I don't know because I don't know. So let me get back over there because will you stop pushing my computer? God darn it.
Before that too, there'll be some of us at the police academy.
Oh yes, and then so I won't be there, but we got PG Chad along with PG Ty teaching at the Northern Virginia Police Academy. Obviously, that is not an open event.
Right.
The following weekend, it is the Caribbean Martial Arts Festival. I will be teaching on the Saturday.
Nice.
So we'll be in Bridgetown, Barbados. The weekend of the
go there sometime.
Yeah, it's good time. I wonder if I'm missing something.
Feels
the
like
weekend of the 20th is the Northern Ontario training camp. And I want to say there's something. Oh, and that weekend I'll be at the Mayan conference down in Orlando. That's okay. Now I know. Okay, yeah.
So with this weird guy holding this Northern Prices Arnis camp, is that just gonna too close in time? He's gonna detract from the.
Oh yeah, he's gonna take away from it. It'll be crazy, Yeah. So here we have it. It's even too close to. I'm worried about Barbados taking a hit on that.
There you go.
So and then you're doing the fall fling on the 11th.
Yep.
That's the weekend of my tournament. The weekend prior to that, Ty and I will be at Bobby Tabuada's 75th anniversary or 75th birthday camp. Our Thanksgiving weekend will be the Southern Ontario Modern Arnis camp in Cambridge, Ontario.
Excellent. Yep.
And then we do the WMA Christmas party, which is the first weekend of December. And what I don't have up here, which I got to put up there, is Terrell and myself teaching smoking sticks and modern Arnis in the Metro DC area.
That's right.
The rest of the stuff is it's just the rest. It's the 2024. I'd rather not. I got the Buffalo Niagara Martial Arts Festival, which is the wrong weekend. I got to get that proper date up there. It's actually this on this side. I didn't update. It's actually the following weekend. We've got our normal camps the last weekend of April, and then our instructors camp is going to be in August because I'll be doing the World Filipino Martial Arts Championships in October. So we need to, then we'll go back to our normal schedule, hopefully. And then in November, we'll be going to the Philippines.
I like how you said our normal camp. With those goobers, I don't know if that's really normal.
It is what it is. Oh, here, I like that configuration. There we go.
There you go.
And
And then there's a few notes. Brock says he'll be at the instructor camp and Salem.
Yes, he will. Yes, he
All
will.
right.
Good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite police academy. Nice.
Okay, there we go. Yes, it'll be a hybrid version, so people will be able to download that. Okay, so if you don't attend it live, you can still purchase it and get a digital copy of it. That's
Toucan Sam.
I shall return. Take care, all. There we go.
All right. There we
Thanks
go.
for contributing too, as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So we are going to wrap things up. We probably got about 15 minutes or so talk afterwards. I'm saying that because Dean Franco's planning on calling me, and I'm just letting him know that we'll be talking afterwards.
Good. No, that'll be good.
As in, we will be talking, and then you and I can talk afterwards. Okay. So, boom, Sudbury Schools of Martial Arts.com, is that?
That's that's my Instagram page, as well as PG Craig
PG Craig
Mason. Yeah,
PG Craig Mason. Okay.
Yeah. On my Instagram, and then I've got Sudbury School of Martial Arts, my Facebook page as well, and I've also got Sudbury FMA as the group that anybody can post on there, anything FMA related.
So next week our show is going to be training around injuries, because I'm going through that right now.
Been there.
I have shoulder surgery. I start therapy tomorrow.
Okay.
Wednesday, I'm going in. They've done the MRI, and I'm actually going to get to talk to them about my knee. I think I've got it. Everyone thinks the meniscus is torn.
Okay.
It keeps filling up with fluid.
Yeah.
Something's going on. So
I've had that.
there's a good chance I'm going to need surgery.
Yeah, I've had both my knees done. I got half a meniscus, medial meniscus in both my knees.
Okay. And I'm
that
out
scares
like my ex belly button. Okay, my ex's belly button. Okay.
And Eric says good night too. Good night, Eric.
So, so next week will be training around injuries. The first weekend, or the first Monday of October, Renee Tungsten will be on. We'll be talking about the FMA,
Cool.
The FMA festival. We'll take a weekend off. We're not going to do Columbus Day. I would, but a day and a half after that, I fly to Barbados, and I want to make sure all my packing's done. The 16th, we're going to talk about the 3 tiers of training. The 23rd, curriculum delivery systems. And that's what I have for now. And then I'm moving some things around. We're going to, actually the 30th of October, unless something changes, it'll be WMA Canada. And then the 6th of November, we'll talk about WMA USA, having a bunch of our schools up. And then we'll see if we can get Talis on the 13th for WMA Brazil.
Sweet.
Things going on. Oh, and Brazil's there. Here we go. In Brazil, speaking of Talis. So, hey, if you're available on November 13th, we'll do an episode about that. For those who didn't watch, there's an amazing interview with Datu Tim and PG Craig recorded in Brazil, available on Budo TV channel.
Yep.
And I didn't even pay him to put that up there. Contrary to popular belief. So that's going on there. I haven't time. I have to sit down and talk when our last episode is. I would like to do one on the a season wrap up on December 11th, because I would like to do, after the DC seminar, doing the smoking sticks and Modern Arnis weekend. Although we got to see what the holidays are like. It might be better up just to wrap things up on the 27th of November or the 4th of December. We'll see. I might do some individual shows on my own, just to keep some things going. But I can do a Datu's Corner real easy, where I don't have to worry about stuff. And I want to re-energize. But we got a lot of good topics coming up, I think. I'm going to try to do some things and put some videos up, or have videos that we can reference during the show. So we're taking a slightly different topic direction. We still have some people we want to have on board, so the schedule is flexible. It's very fluid. So all of a sudden we have an opportunity to get somebody, I might just change things around. And then, like I said, Ty and I have to sit down and talk to make sure that the schedule works for both of us.
Yep.
Because like I said, I can always do and then we know Dean can always do the show.
That's right. He's just waiting, chomping at the bit.
Chomping at the bit. He wants your spot.
It's because he doesn't have to.
FMA Talk, and I'm going to take over FMA discussion.
There you go. I don't want to lead anything. So I feel his pain, right? Because that's a whole lot more work. Coming in and helping is a whole lot easier.
So that's what's going on right now.
Yep.
Listen, those in Canada, PG Craig's is coming up. Northern Ontario. Camp, and anytime you want to see him, and like I said, you want to reach out to him, maybe talk about workshops, seminars, training at his facility. Go to Sudbury Martial Arts. Go to PG Craig Mason, both on Instagram. And you can find him also on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
If you cannot find his information, just reach out to me and I'll make sure you get it.
Yep.
But if you go to our website, if you go to the World Modern Arnis Alliance website, worldmodernarnis.com, he's listed in the school section. So it's easy to get a hold.
And you have YouTube channel as well, right?
Yeah. Craig, you have a YouTube channel, right?
I do.
I thought you did,
Only
yeah.
a few things on it, but definitely need to put some more material up there in the future.
I need to get back to that too.
Most of our guys are real easy to get a hold of.
Yeah.
You just need to look. Go figure.
Reach out. Yeah.
Reach out and say, now listen, and everyone know, listen, and this happened so Renee just recently reached out to me and needed someone's phone number. I refuse to give out anyone's contact information without their permission. If it's not already public, if it's not already posted on the internet already, you're not going to get it from me.
Or in a bathroom somewhere.
Well, it's got to be up on the bathroom wall. Yeah. Okay. Here's one for the other.
Magandang umaga po, Pugay. Nice. Magandang umaga as well.
All right, so I'm pretty done. Craig, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad I was able to come out. Thanks for having me.
Fun.
Nickel Dog. Yeah.
Nickel Dog.
Congratulations again, by the way, sir.
Thank you.
And when that thing comes through, we're gonna have you on when you actually get your dog tags. Because we want to celebrate properly. I'm flying home from England. I'm in Montreal. Was it Montreal?
Yeah. We're going from Montreal to
Toronto.
Toronto.
I'm on the plane. I'm sitting there. Then here's two people, a husband and wife. I'm in the last row of the plane. I get up for the husband and wife, and I turn my back. I didn't know they were pointing at me. They walk by me, and the two of them. I'm looking at the back of the shirt. It's a Bikini Tertia shirt. And they were pointing out about my shirt. I was pointing about their shirt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's Pirate Dog. I'm like, we're talking about this. I go, hey, Craig Mason. Oh, my God, he's my best friend. He goes, he's my top Canadian student. Oh, my God, da-da-da-da. And what happens? We all got kicked off the plane. Actually, one of the overhead compartments broke, and they had to fix it. But I'm going with the story. And the social media post was, you put us on the plane together, what happens? We got kicked off. It was actually a pilot or something broke the overhead compartment. They overloaded it.
But that's a small world. I love those stories. It's a small world.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Hey, no problem, Kurt. He was thanking me for bringing him on. Cool.
That was cool.
As always, this has always been a pleasure. Everybody, please stay safe and stay sane. This is Datu Tim.
And PG Ty and
PG Craig.
All right, everyone. See you all in the future.
All right.